Good morning everyone. Basa na tayo na ating libro guys. Kapwa ko Filipino. Magbasa na tayo ng ating history. History of the Filipino People by Agoncillo and Guerrero. Today is 24 December 2022. Merry Christmas to all. Mamayang gabi Christmas na, diba? History of the Filipino People Part 3, Reform and Revolution. Topic number 10, the Revolution First Phase. Paragraph The Truce of Biyak-na-Bato. Pasa. The Truce of Biyak-na-Bato. Sometime in August, a mestizo, Pedro A. Paterno, who had spent a part of his life in Spain, approached Governor-General Primo de Rivera and asked that he made a mediator between the Filipinos and the Spaniards. He wanted the Cid to stop the fatal conflict between the two peoples, for he loved Spain and the Philippines. The Governor-General acceded to his request. From August to December, Paterno negotiated with Aguinaldo and Primo de Rivera on the conditions that he thought would be satisfactory to both. On November 18, the first document of what came to be known as the Truce of Biyak-na-Bato was signed by Paterno as representative of the revolutionists and by Primo de Rivera for the Spanish government. Other matters were thrashed out by Paterno, and on December 14, the second document known as the Program was signed by Paterno and Primo de Rivera. The following day, December 15, the third and last document of the Truce was signed also by Paterno and Primo de Rivera. The resulting truce provided, among other things, that Aguinaldo and his companions would go, number 1, audit guys. The resulting truce provided, among other things, number 1, that Aguinaldo and his companions would go into voluntary exile abroad. Oh, may exile sila? That Primo de Rivera would pay the sum of 800,000 to the rebels in 3 installments. 400,000 to Aguinaldo upon his departure from Biyak-na-Bato, B. 200,000 when the arms surrendered by the revolutionists exceeded 700, and letter C, the remaining 200,000 when the Te-Deum was sung and general amnesty proclaimed by the governor. That Primo de Rivera would pay the additional sum of 900,000 pesos to the families of the non-combatant Filipinos who suffered during the armed conflict. To make sure that the Spanish authorities were sincere, the revolutionists demanded that 2 Spanish generals were to remain at Biyak-na-Bato as hostages, and another Colonel Miguel Primo de Rivera, the governor's nephew, to accompany the exiles to Hong Kong. Primo de Rivera, sa Hong Kong sila may exiles. Primo de Rivera agreed, and on December 23, the Spanish generals Celestino Guerrero and Ricardo Monet arrived at Biyak-na-Bato and became hostages of the rebels. On the same day, Aguinaldo and his men, including Pedro and Maximo Paterno, boarded a launch and sailed for Calumpit. They took the train for Dagupan that day Carumatas for the port of Sual, Pangasinan. The group sailed for Hong Kong the same day, December 27, with Aguinaldo in possession of the check for 400,000 pesos. The failure of the truce. January 1898 was a month of colorful festivities in Manila. The Spaniards, happy that their lives had been spared during the hectic battles, began a series of fiestas so lavish and that thousands of pesos were spent to make the occasion that is the end of the hostilities a memorable one. There were boat and horse races, fireworks in the evenings, and magnificent ball at the Ayuntamiento or City Hall, and dramas at the Sorelia Theater. On January 23, the Te-Deum was sung at the Manila Cathedral, and on the 24th, Madrid time, at the Palacio Real in Madrid. Meanwhile, the Filipino generals left at Biak-na-Bato did everything in their power to surrender the arms given up by the rebels. Some of the Filipino leaders, however, were suspicious of Spanish aims and continued to hold on their weapons. They expected a continuation of the armed conflict and prepared hanggang dito lang pala to basahin ko guys kasi bukas is topic number 11 na tayo. The revolution second phase na tayo. So dito tayo sa ulitin ko lang ulit kasi hanggang dito na lang naman tayo sa the failure of the Truce. So dito tayo. Meanwhile, the Filipino generals left at Biak-na-Bato did everything. Basahin ko ulit sa umpisa. Dito sa the failure of the Truce. The failure of the Truce, January 1890, it was a month of colorful festivities in Manila. The Spaniards, happy that their lives had been spared during the hectic battles, began a series of fiestas so lavish that thousands of pesos were spent to make the occasion, that is, the end of the hostilities, a memorable one. There were boat and horse races, fireworks in the evenings, a magnificent ball at the Ayuntamiento or City Hall, and dramas at the Sorella Theater. On January 23, the Te Deum was sung at the Manila Cathedral, and on the 24th Madrid time at the Palacio Real in Madrid. Meanwhile, the Filipino generals left at Biak-na-Bato. Meanwhile, the Filipino generals left at Biak-na-Bato did everything in their power to surrender the arms given up by the rebels. Some of the Filipino leaders, however, were suspicious of Spanish aims and continued to hold on their weapons. They expected a continuation of the armed conflict and prepared themselves and their men for the emergency. The Spanish authorities, on the other hand, did not trust the Filipinos. The result was that periodic clashes occurred between the Filipinos and the Spaniards. The clashes started in mid-February and continued until Spanish power was destroyed by the combined Filipino-American forces a few months later. One of the leaders, General Francisco Macabolos of Tarlac, established the Central Executive Committee, which was intended to be a provisional one until a general government of the Republic in these islands shall again be established. The rebel government had a constitution popularly called the Constitution of Macabolos, which provided for an executive committee composed of a president, a vice president, a secretary of the Interior, a Secretary of War, and a Secretary of the Treasury. It is clear that the Filipino leaders were not disposed to follow the letter of the Truce, but on the contrary felt that they used the money given to them by Primo de Rivera to purchase arms and ammunition. On the other hand, the lower Spanish officials arrested and imprisoned many Filipinos whom they suspected of having been involved in the rebellion. Such acts naturally led to the feeling among the Filipinos that the Truce was but a mask to cover up Spanish bad faith. The consequence of this mutual suspicion was the resurgence of the revolution. So, bukas na tong topic number 11, guys. So, ibig sabihin, naalis lang tayo sa pananakop ng Spanish nung magkaroon na ng tulong galing sa American. So, Filipino-American forces. So, bukas na yung topic number 11, the revolution second phase. Bye everyone. God bless.